Never a dull moment. My name is Nolan O'Brien. I work at a cattle ranch called Two Dot Land and Livestock, and these are my cows. The reason why this is complex is that you're constantly changing and thinking about what each pasture's needs are and how we can best cater towards those needs. The most important resource that we have is soil. When we think of food, we need to think of soil. It is a network of bacteria and fungi. It's really important that we understand that it's living, because without recognizing that, we can't properly take care of it. So what do bacteria and fungi, well, why are they important? They're important because they make available nutrients for plants. What do bacteria and fungi need? They need food and they need shelter. They also need water, but by providing them food and shelter, they can harvest their own water. Food. What is food? Bacteria and fungi eat old plants. We can make it easier for bacteria and fungi to eat food by making things smaller. It's like a surface area problem. A really great, small, like broken apart form of plants is poop. Cows poop, and they're creating these bank accounts of packed, small, broken apart plants. That's food for bacteria and fungi.
Me and my little wife and children set us down, and grace was spoken in that bacon scent profound. All I had lost was found. I took a look in, joy of cooking, joy of cooking. Oh,
Bacteria and fungi, soil, they also want shelter. They need to be covered. So then when it rains, if you have soil that isn't sheltered, it's not protected by rain, all the water will hit and run off, and taking with it your friends, your fellow fungi and bacteria, which are that we need to make nutrients available for plants to grow. Why does it go away? It's because it has no shelter, it's exposed. They have no one holding on to them. They have no protective leaves or old plants that are above them so that when a raindrop hits a leaf, it's protected. That force is distributed across that whole leaf, and the water will come around and then percolate down into the soil nicely.
On your own. Work when you need to, maybe. But don't let them.
The way to think about soil's ability to hold water is think about your dried sponge on your sink. Try this. Take a glass of water, take that super tough sponge, and at once pour the water onto that sponge. Just kind of pour it and see where it goes. What will happen is the water will nail that sponge and bounce off. It just sheds. Now, dampen that sponge, wring it out so it's not holding much water but it's moist. Hold that, take another glass of water and pour it, and you'll be amazed. That sponge will absorb the water. Our soil is exactly the same as those sponges. If our bacteria and fungi in our soil are alive and they're working, so that when it rains, the soil just sucks up all that water. But now, imagine your soil isn't like that. Instead, it's exposed, dry soil, like your disgusting sponge next to your sink that hasn't been used in a month. When it rains there, oh man, it rained, but we didn't get enough. We didn't get enough rain. So we're gonna spend all the money on all the irrigation equipment, all the pipeline work. I'm gonna hire a guy to go out and tweak my irrigation pivot systems every week because frankly, I don't have enough water. Well, you might not have a lot of water. I think a lot of people out there have plenty of water at their fingertips. They just aren't doing a good job taking care of their soils and harvesting the water when it falls.
Take that wrong and right it whole. Can always live on rice and potato. take your heart's care.
Part of holistic management is specifically for cattle, and it's called holistic planned grazing. We are mimicking massive herds of animals that once roamed through these prairies, eating intensely in one place and then moving on and not returning for a long enough time for those pastures to bounce back even stronger and more diverse. All right, so now to the banquet analogy. Imagine you walk into a dining hall and there's a table and it's filled with everything from delicious pizza made by Chez Panisse to Ansalog to, I don't know, burnt mushrooms, okay? And let's say that every hour a waiter is gonna come out and they're gonna add more of the same. You go to sit down at the table and you start eating. Let's say you go, oh man, I'm obviously gonna go eat the Chez Panisse pizza because it's so good. And you eat the full pizza. And you turn and you go, man, okay, well, what should I eat next? Well, I don't want to eat burnt mushrooms. Those Ansalog, they look pretty good. You take one bite out of the Ansalog and then, oh look, the waiter's bringing out another pizza. I'm gonna set that Ansalog down, I'm gonna go back to the pizza, I'm gonna eat that second pizza. So obviously the point is that you're gonna keep on going back to your favorite species if you're in there long enough where they're gonna keep on bringing it out. Now, let's say you're not the only person at the banquet. You're aware with like 300 people. 300 people come in and there are only 2 pizzas. Before you know it, George is taking half a pizza, no one's taking the other half, we're hoarding it, and oh man, nobody else gets pizza. So they go, shoot, well man, we were a little late, I guess we'll eat the Ansalog. So 10 people lunge for the Ansalog because they don't want burnt mushrooms, and there's some dude at the end going, I guess I'll eat the burnt mushrooms. So they eat the burnt mushrooms. And the moment that that person is done eating the burnt mushrooms, we move them. We say, hey guys, we ring a bell, there's another banquet next door. That's what we're doing. We're moving. So with that analogy of the waiter coming out, with a plant, if it's growing and you eat it, just like it's the first pizza, you ate the first bite, great. Well, if the plant starts to regrow and it's like in the process of regrowing, it's not to its full strength, and an animal takes another bite, that's like the second pizza, now you're overgrazing the plant. And the plant is weakened. And in time, that plant will die off. And at scale, you're talking about species dying off. And if you're limiting species, that means another species that maybe has been untouched is going to start encroaching. And before you know it, you've got this like singular monoculture species moving in, just because you weren't equally hitting them all back. Let's say it's the banquet, every banquet hall is owned by a different family. Well, imagine the toll that would take on the same family. If you keep eating from them, they're gonna lose all their money. So pastures are like families. They're saying, you know, man, we've been giving you guys so much. Can you just give us some time to grow again? Can you give us some time? So you move on to a new banquet hall, a new pasture, a new family, and you evenly distribute over there. Behind us is an example of, on our pasture, it's covered, and theirs is exposed. That guy will grow less grass than us because his soils are less healthy. If he's got less grass, that means he's going to be able to stock his ranch with fewer numbers, fewer animals. As a result, that means less revenue for him, but then also, we're talking about how the whole, our ability to heal soils has everything to do with large, dense numbers of animals. So he's on a path of a downward spiral where he has to slowly in time destock, 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 creating less density, shorter durations for his pastures, not healing his soils, whereas we, growing more grass, can stock our ranch higher, bring in more revenue for the ranch, have more density, so that's greater disturbance, faster cycling of nutrients, and you're on a different path, a different trajectory. But it has everything to do with how you decide to understand water, understand soil, and understand the relationship that cattle have with those things. Or not just cattle, but all animals.
rattling through a prison of introspection. From the smallest cell can spread the whole infection. And I am not one to push it all aside, for I am one to hurt and to hide. And I read the book of Psalms.
It's all up here, George.